In the Western world today, we have a depression epidemic. Now, I'm not a scientist or a doctor, so don't take my word for things over the advice from those qualified officials. But in our modern westernized society, there is so much emphasis on depression and mental health, and so quick are we to jump to the solutions of medication and therapy and all of these things. And that's not to say that these are not helpful solutions or not good solutions. Sometimes people do have severe clinical depression that they really need to be medicated. Sometimes, generally speaking, therapy can be beneficial to everybody. There's good things about it, but I am suggesting that there's other solutions that we tend to ignore, which comes down to essentially lifestyle. The five big things that I think are most important for this, and I can say this from my own personal experience, but there's plenty of science to support it. If you want to go and do the research to find the stuff, it's out there. Um, get good sleep, drink water, eat good whole foods, get exercise every day, some sort of physical activity. Get outside and get the vitamin D, and work hard at something and achieve it. And stop drinking alcohol. Alcohol definitely contributes to depression, which I talked about in my video on that topic. But just to explain it very briefly, when you are drinking alcohol, you are getting a rush of dopamine. And when it's out of your system later, you are getting a drop in dopamine. And regular drinking of alcohol definitely exacerbates this problem. There are natural solutions to this. If you go back in time or to other parts of the world, even today, depression rates are not as extreme or significant as we have them here in the Western world in today's time. Now, again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not on here to break down a bunch of stats and all this stuff. You can do research on your own. Perhaps you'll catch me saying something that's not completely accurate, but I do speak from anecdotal evidence and from plenty of stuff that I have read and watched that does break down the science and everything. It's just not my place to do that. But there are natural ways to deal with this stuff. If we say that in these other parts of the world, at other points in history, depression was not as significant as it is today, how could that be? When in our modern Western society, we have so many things that we never had before. We have easier lives than ever before. We have comforts that we never had before. And I would suggest that that right there is the reason. From my own experience, the number one thing, well, let me say this. Depression is a chemical imbalance in your brain. And so rarely do we want to address the fact that we can do things to alter that chemical balance in our brain. Rather, we often just jump to the conclusion of saying, oh, well, I just have a chemical imbalance in my brain. There's nothing I can do about that. I have to have medications and drugs to fix that. But how does that make sense? Like, why would you, it's a chemical imbalance. Why would you not be able to do things naturally to fix that? If you're lacking dopamine or if you're lacking serotonin or these other things, again, get outside, eat good foods, don't eat a bunch of processed junk food constantly that's going to not be giving you the things that you need. But from my experience, the one thing that strongly contributes to having more dopamine that lasts longer is working hard at something and accomplishing it. Because of the comfort we have today in modern society, very rarely do we actually sit down, work hard at something, and achieve it. And I know people can sit and argue this all day long. I do that all the time. I don't know. But many people don't. Many people's lives consist of going to their job where they do the same thing every single day, day in and day out. They don't actually care about what they're doing. They're just going in for the time they need to be there and just checking out and just to collect a paycheck. Many times people do not have passion for their careers, and they don't have anything in their lives outside of their careers that gives them any sort of joy. They don't work to do something. This is the problem right here. You need to spend time in your personal life working towards something that you want to do. And then once you actually achieve it, after working hard to accomplish it, you will get that dopamine hit, and it will be so much more satisfying than any sort of alcohol or any sort of TikTok or social media or brief dopamine hit that we get. You see, today, we're always chasing the brief dopamine fix. Whether we get that from those things I listed or from other things, everything today is manufactured to give us this dopamine hit. Junk food, social media, pornography, drugs and alcohol. These are all things that are just easy. You can just get them without putting any work into it, without laboring, and you just ingest a Big Mac or a Taco Bell. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I think that stuff is delicious. But to be doing this all the time, all you're doing is just giving your brain a brief little hit of dopamine and not actually having to work for it. These are the cheapest options available, right, for food. Same with social media. If you're sitting there just watching TikTok all day long, all you're doing is just scrolling through, getting a little dopamine hit from some stupid little video where they purposefully manufacture the video to be attention grabbing your brain, rather than reading a book where you're spending a long time to try and get the dopamine release of getting to what happens in the story. These things that are the slower, more grueling process are the far more rewarding forms of dopamine. If you go to exercise, you go to the gym, you do hard work, and you spend time trying to improve your physique, you will get more dopamine than if you simply just, I don't know, take a weight loss supplement or something. And this gets to the point of the video. It's very sad to see this depression, and what goes in along with that is a lot of self-hatred. There's a lot of people out there, whether it be for societal reasons, whether it be for personal reasons, they do not like themselves. Maybe it's a traumatic experience, and if so, my heart goes out to you. Like, things happen to people that, you know, are terrible, that many of us can't even imagine, and that sucks. But there's many different reasons as to why people might have self-loathing. Often it could be something like not liking the way they look, not liking something about their body, not liking the way that they act or speak, or all of these different things. But you are who you make yourself to be. Now, some things are more difficult to change than others, but we have the power to do it. Now, of course, don't get me wrong, there are instances where things are unchangeable. If we're talking about body weight, for example, I know this is highly controversial in today's world, but people are not naturally obese. If you go to other countries, other points in history, people are not obese the way that they are today. And that's because it's not natural. It's not our natural state. Now, let me clarify. Absolutely, there is natural diversity in body shapes and sizes. That's 100% true. Some people are shorter, some are taller, some people are curvier, some people have wider hips or are different things like this. But nobody is naturally obese. That's just not true. unless there is some crazy situation where it's like a very rare disorder, but it's not a common thing. So let's talk about that with body weight. There might be some things you can't change. Maybe you're a shorter, stockier, whiter person, and you want to be a tall, thin person. Well, this is an example of something that, yes, maybe you're not going to be able to change that exactly, but if you're obese and you want to be slimmer, you can change this. If you're very, very thin with no muscle and you want to be muscular, you absolutely can change this. Don't get me wrong, certain body types, male and female, and different things have different predispositions for the amount of weight and muscle that they can carry on their skeleton. But regardless of that, I mean, stop comparing to all of that. Just if you compare it to yourself, you have the ability to gain muscle, to lose weight, to do all of these things. It just takes hard work, and that's the thing people don't want to do. But if you do it, if you take that path less traveled, the more difficult route, you will be far happier and you will have far more dopamine and joy than if you were to do what is so common today and just do self-care, sitting around, lounging by the pool, drinking wine, scrolling through TikTok. This is not self-care. This is not true self-care. True self-care is doing the things that you don't want to do that are good for you. Eating the food that is less sugar and carb heavy, but is going to, maybe it's less tasty even, but it's going to be better fuel for you. It's going to be better for your brain chemistry. It's going to be better for everything. True self-care is going to the gym, going on a run, working out, doing the things that are hard and take time, but they will be more rewarding. True self-care is, rather than scrolling through TikTok, reading a book, or maybe writing a book, or maybe writing a song, or doing something where you are applying your gift of creativity and imagination, which we have as humans, to be able to work hard at something and achieve it and see it into reality. You are who you make yourself to be. Let's say, for example, and now I see I'm an older person in college because I was in the military before going to college. So I talk to a lot of college students who are about 18, 19, 20 who are in my classes. And often I talk to them. Often these students at the particular school I go to are going to college to become songwriters, to become music producers, or things like this, filmmakers. And they feel that because they're going to college and getting this degree with that specific title, that they're going to be able to get a job doing those things. And that's just not reality. If you want to be a songwriter, you need to write songs. It doesn't matter what degree you get, you're never going to be a songwriter unless you write songs. A person that has no college experience, maybe they dropped out of high school even, but they sat and they wrote 500 songs in their free time over a span of many years. That's a songwriter. And it doesn't need to be 500. It can be 10. It can be 5. But just doing the thing is what makes you that thing. But they're far more of a songwriter than the person who went to college, got the degree, and has never written a single song. If you want to be a filmmaker, you need to make films. Now, so often people use the excuse of, well, I don't have a good camera, or the software is expensive, I can't pay for that, or blah, blah, blah. But most of us have this thing in our pocket that I'm recording this video with right now, the cell phone. Today they have great cameras, but even if you have one with a terrible camera, you can still make a film. You can still go outside, get a couple friends, and shoot a film. You can write it at home, you can plan it out, and it makes you a filmmaker. And every single time you make one of these films, it's going to get better and better, where even with your tools that are not the perfect great tools, each film you make is going to be better than the last, where till the point where you're going to be making ones that are quite good with supplies that are not good. This will eventually open doors and opportunities for you that will lead to being able to get those better supplies to improve them even more. If you want to be a writer, sit down and write a book. Don't go to college. I'm not telling people not to go to college, but just because you go to college and get a degree in writing and creative writing or something, that doesn't make you a writer. You need to actually write. If you are, for example, in college and all of your assignments in your writing classes you do with ChatGPT and you never write a single thing, you're not a writer. It doesn't matter what your title or degree is. Like you are not that thing unless you do it. This is my personal experience in life. I have spent time, I've decided I wanted to be a musician. So I sat down and I wrote a bunch of songs. I wrote an album. I recorded it. At one point I saved up a bunch of money and got it professionally recorded, but then I didn't have money to keep doing that. So another point, I learned how to do it myself with whatever I could use, whether that be a free program like GarageBand, whether that be something for $5 that's on the App Store on your phone. You do these things and then you become that. Oliver Anthony, he came out of nowhere from recording songs with his cell phone microphone of just him playing guitar and singing, and he blew up. You don't need the Pro Tools. You don't need a million microphones. You just need a single microphone and you need to write the songs. Like, that's it. This is all it takes. This is it. I did that. I started a band. I played concerts. I busted my ass going to venues and talking to the owners and trying to get concerts scheduled. I drew in crowds. I did the whole thing. I recorded several albums. And I don't really do that so much anymore, but that experience led to me learning how to produce music, how to write music and produce it, which led to me actually getting a contract job working on a TV show that paid very, very well. So this is how it works. I eventually decided I want to make a film. But I had no friends to be actors. I didn't have good software. I didn't have good cameras. So I used a very cheap DSLR camera that was several years old, and I had a bunch of Legos, and I taught myself how to do stop motion animation, and I made a short film with it. I made several of them. And I did whatever I could to make this stuff happen. And every time I do one of these things, I learned so much about the craft. I would like to make real films, right? But I was making little stop motion Lego short films. Yet every time I did that, I was learning how to set up a shot, how to set up a scene, how to do different shots and combine them together to make a fluid scene. I learned all these things. My whole life I wanted to be a writer, and one day after doing all of these other things, I decided, well, I'm just going to write a book. So I wrote a book. And then there was all these challenges, all these obstacles. How am I going to get this published? How am I going to do this? There's people on the internet telling me, oh, well, publishers today don't want to sign white men, or, different things like this, like a lot of discouraging things. Well, then I decided, well, everything else I've done, I just kind of do it myself and I figure it out. So maybe I can do that with publishing a book. And I looked into self-publishing options, and I found that with Amazon, there's a self-publishing option where you don't have to buy a whole supply of books for a bunch of money that sit in your closet forever because you're never able to sell it. You can actually just have them be printed on demand to people's orders, and then you're not losing any money. It's completely free. So that's what I did. And now I'm writing my second book to do the same process with. And this is all it is. You are who you make yourself to be. If you're not happy with the way that you act, start consciously thinking about how you would like to act, and you will start acting that way over time. It's gradual. It's difficult to change. For example, I talk a lot. And I have a very hard time. I've always wanted to be the quiet one, but I'm not that person. But over time and being conscious of it, I have gradually become more and more quiet, less talking when I don't need to be talking, and I'm slowly moving more to being that person. I used to look completely different than how I look today, so much so that you would not even recognize me. I'll show a picture of me in high school, and you'll see. I was a little scrawny guy. I had glasses. I was dorky. Like, people would refer to me as just a nerd, which, funny enough, people who don't know me today don't think I'm a nerd until they get to know me and they see the stuff that I'm into and they realize, oh, he's a bit of a nerd. I've always been that. But people used to think I was because the way I looked, because the way I acted, because all these things. But I joined the military, I started working out, I started doing all this stuff, and now I look like a completely different person. I used to not like the way that I looked, and now I am proud of the way that I look. I love the way that I look. And I changed that. You are who you make yourself to be. We have this ability to do that. So when people are upset and depressed and all these things because they don't like themselves, I just want you to know that you are the person you make yourself to be, so change it. And that's that. I'm not here to downplay depression. I'm not here to downplay anything that anyone else goes through. That's not what this is about. That stuff's all very real and serious and all this. I'm just telling you, you do have the ability to change your circumstance, to change your life. And if you're having a chemical imbalance in your brain, you can go and do things that are going to help that. If you're unhappy with who you are, the way you act, the way you look, you can do things to change that. We are the authors of our own lives. Or if you're religious, God is the author of your life. But you were given free will from God. That's the Christian view. So if you're religious or Christian or Muslim or any of these other things, you might have a view similar to this. And God in the Christian Bible says that He gave humans free will. So you make the choices, and you were also given the gift of creativity, and imagination. So you are who you make yourself to be. So make yourself into somebody that you love. That's the video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. A humble priest sent on a mission by his God. A lonely thief trying to find her way in the world. A wizard's apprentice on a quest for liberation. Follow Aldenor, Naya, and Anna as they venture through Erdania and uncover the hidden truth of the Covenant of Renewal, a dying religion with a gray morality. Read the hit book, The Price of Renewal, by Austin Buffington, available on Amazon.